What's up, my friends? This is Cher talking. Welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I will be talking about the new announcements made during Twitch live stream. Square Enix announced two new banners, Romancing Festival Princess Rei and Romancing Festival Macha. They are the Dragon Riders banners we were expecting because they were on the timeline, but, well, I also wanted to be surprised. Sadly, that's not the case. But they buffed these banners we'll be talking in this video. They will also be releasing a new book alongside this, the new Final Island, and also new attacks. Well, with all that said, we shall be talking about the first banner, and we can go straight out to our srs.xyz website, and I'll start talking about Human Male banner. I believe this banner is the best of the two, but none of these banners are must-haves. Depends on your expectations of the game. For example, the Human Male has 105% endurance and will. He's not really a tank, but he can take some damage. Has 101% agility and 125% dexterity. Well, his best skill is racing adventure, so I kind of wanted him to have a higher agility so that he always attacks before the enemy. Well, he gives a 15% defense boost to everyone, and then he has a skill tree that hits 3 times. It was changed from JP that is only 2 or 3, and applies a defense boost of small effect that lasts for 2 turns and stacks. The good thing is that this skill by itself is already strong enough, and it also applies defense boost to allow you to survive on remembrance fights. And just all those 3 effects together, you're gonna get some very good value. You can decrease damage taken by 48% just by having Human Male on your party. And if you manage to use Racing Adventure right after the first, then you're gonna have even more damage reduction, getting to up to 62%. Now, they changed it in so that he now has a chance to chase with Proton Rocket Plus. That is his second skill, triple S power damage with Blunt and Heat. But he already always chases with Healing Trigger. That is an AoE very small healing effect. He also has something very nice that on every 3 turns he's going to cast another defense boost. This time it's very large, should be around 30% damage reduction, but only for 3 hits to the whole party. We'll also recover HP of everyone by 1.5 thousand. It is on the start of turn 3, then 6, different than Hawk, that is on the end of the turn. Then he always increases damage for everyone by 30% when using blunt attacks. Also has 40% for himself, and reduces damage taken by 30% only. He also buffs all surviving allies SGR and dexterity by 20%, and has 5 EP per turn. As you can see, he has a rotation of using his skill 3 and then skill 1, that is the same as his main chase, allowing him to then heal the party twice if he wants, or then apply a defense boost and a very small healing. Alongside the SGR and dexterity buff, he is also someone that will help you do more damage in the first phase of the Megalith Dragon. I believe that if you already have UniverSe latest premium style, you can already beat Megalith Dragon Hard 5. Without UniverSe, it may be possible with the use of maybe Socho to get a lot of BP in the center and then allow Human Male to keep using Racing Adventure. But I'm not totally sure. I don't know if I'll be pulling from Human Male yet. Besides, there's no need of inheritance. He will receive probably a 4 out of 5. He is good, but he's not as good as some other strong units we have for normal challenges, and he is still more attached to remembrance. There's yet another gun user that will help, that's called Rose, and she is probably very close to release. You can wait at least 1 week to decide. Then we have Nadard, and he's a very strange one. He has 140% STR and 120% agility, 115% endurance and will for some very good resistances. He does have 1 damage reduction passive that you can see here, and a 40% damage increase at all times, alongside a self buff that increases STR by 40% every turn. He also reduces BP cost by 6 for 6 turns so that he can use his best skill as much as he wants, and then also recovers 5 BP by start of turn. He can even reach the max BP without any problem. But he has a gimmick. He gets as much as 700% damage increase when landing weak attacks. But then by the end of turn 6, you're gonna lose part of your damage increase. You're gonna lose 140% and then another 140%, and so on till you lose all of your weak attack boosts. So he was made to be strong for 6 turns and then nothing else. He was made for the new Final Island, but can also be used in very short fights. Like some of the new dragon fights can be cleared in around 6, 7, 8 turns, and he can work there if you want. He's gonna use his skill number 3 called Legion Spear that hits 3 times a column area with piercing blood, 2 damage types, 3 times deep power, and each time it buffs STR by 25%. Status buffs work a lot with Nadart because he already has a lot of damage passive, so status buffing helps, and he already has 40% before he attacks, and then he gets 25% multiplied by 3. If he's using on a fight that allows you to self-buff, well, he's going to do insane amounts of damage. Forget about the other skills, they are not meant to be used anyway. He can use Legion Spear 6 times in a row. But just damage, nothing else, will work. Not really recommended to pull. We'll get other cards in the future that have high damage as well. Nadart only receives a 3.5, and that is because of his utility on Final Island. If you don't care about this new mode, it will be just 3. We don't know if we will receive the updated version of Final Island that gives gens, but we'll see about that on the final review. Now, the last one is Princess Rei, and Princess Rei is very good. They buffed her a lot as well. 107% endurance and will are just okay for today's standards. She has 132% intelligence, that is kind of high, not the highest we have seen, but she also has very good love and charisma. There are reasons for this. They buffed her damage reduction for 30% for the whole squad. That's nice, it's just like Death, or Saruin, or Leon. Then she increases damage for everyone by 30%. Besides, she has yet another ways to increase damage reduction by 5 stacks of defense up of 5%, and she always applies defense boost that increases damage taken by 15% for everyone. She has at least 5 BP per turn, but she also gets 1 BP when attacking, self-recovers, gets a 10% attack boost, and buffs intelligence by 5%. This is the same passive as Summer Juji. But there's more. When she attacks, she always chooses with Absorb. That is a Shadow and Cold attack that recovers HP by around 1.5 thousand and also self-buffs intelligence by 15% because it's rank 1. And then on Overdrive attack, she's going to chase with this skill called Dragon Illusion Dance. That's a very nice skill that when used as command costs MVP. It's pretty weak, just 8 power, but it's a row of enemies. You can use this on Spiral Corridor 270 if you want, but there's no really need. It's also useful for normal bosses. She will then buff attack boost for everyone by 15%, lasts for 3 turns in stacks, and then she will buff break all enemies. We will have a future Remembrance fight where the enemies are all lined in a row, and that will be even better, but you should not care about the range. It is good because this is a first cold attack that can buff break, and she works super well with foreign user squads if you want. Then when every 3 turns she recovers the usage of Illusion Dragon Purple Impact. What is this? This is a fast skill, also row based. This time triple S power can only be used once until you recharge. It will cast Morale down medium to the enemies, increasing their damage potential by 25% on the source, and she will also fill her overdrive dodge for 2 turns. Meaning that you will use this on turn 1, then you use this again on turn 4, and only on turn 1, 4, 7, she will not be on overdrive. So 66% of the time on overdrive, 1 turn she's not, but then she just keeps entering and using that buff break skill for free on overdrive. You can also use it as a command, as you can see here, Dragon Illusion Dance, and it's mostly unnecessary. I believe that you are better off just saving VP and using Absorb if you want. If you have her inheritance from the last style, you can even get it for free by the use of the selecting ticket, and it attacks 3 times with a B power attack, then I believe an S power attack and a double S power attack, and it actually deals a lot of damage, but there's a 16 VP cost and you may not have that much all the time. But she does not need to use anything besides her skill 3 that uses 10 VP or skill 1 that uses 2, so she may have some left here and there. So works super well and has cold damage that works better with 4 Neos. Princess Rei is very useful, and I believe that she will also receive a 4 out of 5, but differently here, it's more about normal content than Remembrance. Although she super works on Remembrance fights, she will be much better used on hard challenges, contrary to the UMAO version that also works on hard challenges but does not take a spot in the meta. Princess Rei does. She still has this passive where she heals the party when she gets to 0 HP, and then will always revive unless she's hit by poison damage. And when she revives with at least 2000 HP or more. So, useful, not really mandatory, kind of fun to have, and very useful if you have for use. I may even increase Princess Rei grading, I'm not so sure. Say here on the comment section what you think. I really like the design of the character, but I also have for news. And that is the first banner. I will probably give it a silver award, with my recommendations being UMAO and Rei. I don't know about Nadar. I don't feel like he is going to impact much, even though he is useful for Final Island. You don't really need this type of character. Moving on, we will talk about Human Female, and they also buffed her. You can see 140% agility, the highest one in the game right now, with 115% STR, and 111 endurance and will. She is a counter, but not really a specialist to be said. On start of battle, she will increase BP for everyone by 5 points, but will not give BP by itself. She does it every 3 turns. She will give 3 BP to everyone, and then buff STR, Endurance, Agility, and Will by 25%, while also recovering HP by around 1.5 thousand. This is also similar to, well, UMAO, Hawk, very useful for Remembrance from now on. Then on every 6 turns, she will then do everything here, but also more. She will give extra 6 BP, extra 35% buff for a total of 60% buff. And also, besides the healing, she'll give 1 evasion for 1 hit. But that's on turn 6. It's pretty far in the fight. Anyway, on start of a turn, she buffs all of these status by 5% only and always gets 1 evasion. And on the start of battle, she will then buff everyone's status, STR, Endurance, Agility, and Will by 35% too. Now, she does have 30% damage reduction passive alongside a second one, 2 defensive layers. Then she has 30% damage increase alongside 40% for a total of 70. When she lands an attack, she will cast a heat up that will increase damage potential by 10% for the whole fight. This can trigger 50 times per battle. It's crazy. It gets up to 500. She also recovers on VP when attacking. The thing here is, when she attacks, she will trigger the heat up. Then she will always chase with Vacuum Wave. That is her second skill. That buff breaks a row of enemies, much like Princess Rei. Also applies attack down. That will decrease the enemy attack by 10%. If you use it as command, it decreases by 15%. It's pretty nice to have a skill that buff breaks the enemy with a character with 140% agility. She also has fast skills as Inheritance, like Little Witches, that has 6 VP cost, and using a fast buff break is nice. We also have Robbing that can do it, but it's just yet another option. She doesn't really need Inheritance, to be honest. Having such a high agility already helps enough. Now, when she's directly attacked, she reduces damage taken in encounters with Rush Plus. That is not really that strong. It's just an S power row attack. See? Character designer with row area in mind. But in the end, there is only that about Human Female. She gives you some very specific buffs on turns 3, 6, and beyond. And she does have very high damage potential if she counters a lot, because every counter will give her a heat up. But you may not even see all the 50 triggers before the fight ends. Buff break is nice, but there's not much to say about anything else. Human Female is good, but nothing stellar. Do not miss having her, and I say that she probably deserves a 3.5 out of 5. And then we have Nat Zwiger. Well, this one is an odd one. 140% STR and agility. Forget about everything else, really, because even though this character has 1 damage reduction, as you can see here, for 30%, and does cast Guard Up very large, that decreases damage by 50% when Overdrive Gauge is not full. It is all about just using this unit for the new Final Island. It starts with 50% Overdrive damage increase. The Overdrive Gauge, fuel it. Also starts the fight with 13 VP, always gets 5 VP, and when attacking on Overdrive, will cast 4 evasions, but will also remove 90% of the HP and activate that heat 3 times. That hit is skill 3. That has 4S power, lands row attack, just blunt damage, and will give a blunt attack boost as a command. It reaches as much as 50% blunt attack boost, and then a 35% weak attack boost. So when you get it as a chase, it will also trigger 3 times, but with lower values. Damage on turn 1 is insane. But then after that, you don't even have a passive that gives OG Gouge. You just have a 50% chance to fill it up again. And then you can use even skill 2 if you want. That will still allow you to get all of the chase attacks. But then it is a very specific strategy for just starting damage and nothing else. Besides, when Overdrive Gouge is full, you also have the Morale Up Extreme that will increase damage potential by 50% and then another 20%. And that's about it. Alongside the Over Enhance, you have as much as 120% damage increase. There is also a cleanup from ailments, but you'll not be using this character for long fights anyway. Skill 1 gives 1 evasion for 1 time, recovers HP by a lot, and also 3 BP. That is if you still want to keep using Natural Vigor. But that's about it. Nothing stellar, just a character that can be used for starting damage and nothing else. And March does not need that much help for Remembrance, so it also decreases the utility. That's why it only receives a 2.5 out of 5. The last character will be Macha, and they buffed her just so much that it's really hard to explain even. She's hard to use though. 110% endurance, 125% will for a very defensive magic setup. She has 108% agility, not so fast, needed to be faster, and has 131% intelligence. This character has a lot. For example, we have 30% damage reduction and then another 40 if you resist. Very nice. She still has Guard Up and Morale Up Medium. Guard Up Medium decreases damage taken by 25% in all turns. She starts the fight with 15 BP and also recovers another 2 every turn, so she's a 5 BP per turn character. She needed even more. She needs help to get enough BP to use something that is interesting, but more about later. For example, she gets 50 points of OG Gouge every turn. She wants to get into OG. She always chains with Crimson Flare Plus. That is a triple S power attack with heat and sun damage. But when attacking on Overdrive, she's going to chase with her skill number 3. That is a 15 BP cost skill. That's why she starts with 15. That hits with heat and blunt damage, attacking 5 times with deep power. That is a very strong attack that will do much more than any 4S power skill or spell. And it's also fast, but we do have lots of fast attackers in the game. You want Macha to attack first because when she attacks, she would then grant 1 random surviving ally Macha Teaching. Macha Teaching is also something that will happen on start of turn. Yes. And then it is applied to everyone. To everyone, okay. And then you can still use it as command and as a chase. So you have at least 1 for everyone, and when your characters use a spell, the following will happen. Intelligence will buff 15% for the whole squad when they attack. All surviving allies an attack boost of 15% damage potential. Lasts for 2 turns and stack, so if all 5 attack, it's 75% with just 1 stack. Then a defense boost for everyone that decreases damage taken by 15%, but only for that turn. This is nice, but since it's just for that turn, you have to attack before the enemy. That's why you have a fast skill, right? But then, you can even get 15 stacks of this. 5 will be for all characters in the squad, but the other ones that come from Capricious Meteor Swarm will be randomly chosen. Macha can even give it to herself, much like Jamie does. And then she would then apply it right after. She has a chase attack, remember? So it's not a problem if it goes to her, but then it may even get, I don't know, 4 stacks for Macha and 6 to the other characters in the party. Something will be lost here. But even then, imagine, if you get at least 10 stacks out of 15, that's 10 defense boosts applied, 10 attack boosts for 150% damage increase, 10 buffs for intelligence and will. Yeah, that is when you are attacking on Overdrive, but you won't be able to do that all the time. Macha does not start with Overdrive, so I recommend using her in a different way. Start with Capricious Meteor Swarm, and then you will get that 10 stacks of Macha's teaching, 5 from the skill, 5 from the passive. On turn 2, you may already get into Overdrive, because you will chase with Crimson Flare, that gives you 20 points of OG Gauge, and Capricious Meteor Swarm gives a certain value that I don't really know. And then maybe by turn 2 you are on Overdrive. If you are, just use Burning Light. Why? Because you're still gonna chase with Capricious Meteor Swarm, and you still have the other 5 stacks from passive. So that she will try to keep 10 stacks at most situations. Even if you lose some of those because of RNG, it is still a lot. And she still has a column area attack that hits 3 times with C power, heat and sun damage. Well, this is actually pretty strong for the cost, and it depends on the area of the enemies, and we may get some Spiral and Remembrance fights where the enemies will be aligning like this. She reminds me a little bit of Therese, but she's a little more restricted. She needs full magical squads because you need to attack with spells to get the Enhanced Sorcery, and you need to attack with spells to get all of the other passives from Macha's teaching. Very specific, hard to build, but if you know what you're doing, she's gonna really shine. I feel like Macha deserves a 4.5 because of difficulty to use, but it is a damage dealer and party support of meta build with very high potential. With that said, this is the end, guys. I will give this banner a silver minus award, because only Macha really makes an impact. Netwagger and Mumeo are really skippable. So I'll be making full reviews later, and I suggest you to wait if you are not so sure. If you care about Remembrance, it is easier to go after Mumeo because we need support for guns, but we may even get Rose. It is still recommended to wait and decide later. With all that said, this is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I hope to see you soon in the next video or live stream. Goodbye.